Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka.
It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Baka. We are an anime podcast that every 2 weeks we watch a new anime. We come together on this podcast to talk about it. We hope that you talk about it with us in comment sections afterwards. That's the whole concept. Every other week we do a mini-sub thing. We'll talk about that later. We watched one of the Netflix anime these past 2 weeks called A.I.C.O Incarnation. Or is it A.I.C.O Incarnation?
I thought it was A.I.C.O Incarnation.
Could be, it's just, I've heard it both ways.
It's whatever you want it to be.
And to talk about it, I have two amazing, great, wonderful, one of them is co-host. First off, we have the tentacles to my Japan.
Yes.
Jeremy, how are you doing, man?
Fantastic.
I'm so worried.
Well, yeah. Yeah, no, just been messing around with BattleTech Rogue Tech. Yep, keeping busy.
That's the PC game, or is that the tabletop game?
That is a mod on the PC game. Yep.
All right, I stopped caring. The other host is the Blob to my America, Jason.
I'll take Blob over tentacles. Oh man. So all three kids have started soccer and school. So it's been just amazing. And I got roped into coaching. So yay me.
Oh, fun.
Oh, dude. Yeah, so the coach for my youngest kid's team, which, by the way, 6-year-old soccer is some of the funniest stuff to watch because it looks like a swarm of bees following a ball around.
I was going to ask how much of that is actually teaching versus just kind of herding.
Oh, it's so much. Everyone uses the phrase herding cats.
Okay.
But this is
Good luck.
This is much more about learning how to run and kick a ball at the same time. That's really all this is about. But yeah, so I'm standing there and she's just like, so what you doing next year? Because I'm helping out a little bit. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you want to be assistant coach next year? I'm like, oh God. My wife's like, do it. So hopefully I don't go down the path of Troy's brother.
He became like the commissioner of his league, and every year now it's just nothing but football.
Oh, man.
Okay.
You got to have a hobby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my name is Troy, and I've been playing Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4, and I love Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4. That game's fantastic. I haven't beaten it yet. I did the Raft mission where the Sinister Six have shown up. That was trailer advertised, so that's not a big spoiler. That game's great.
It really seems like this generation's Skyrim because it's just as prevalent and like talked about. It feels like
there's no mods. I don't see it lasting.
No. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, so like I'm talking about like just height the popularity for base game.
Yeah, apparently it was like the fastest selling game of the year, beat out God of War, which had already done really well. But for me, the reason I bought it, I'd already talked with Jeremy about this, is back in the old console days, there was Spider-Man 2. And in that game, they developed like actual web swinging. And they brought a lot of that back. There's a few things they went other ways with, like you can't hold on to the web forever for some reason. But for the most part, you feel it's that swinging plus some parkour thrown in. They added fast travel into the game, and I'm like, why would I ever want to fast travel? I can cross New York in 30 seconds because it's amazing to do so.
And you enjoy it the whole time.
Yes. I play that game to swing, and then every once in a while I'll take a break to do some story.
Exactly. I remember doing that in Spider-Man 2. It was so good.
I'm going to platinum it. I've already bought all the spider costumes, and the costumes are amazing. That's going to be great. Okay.
Have you found the Twin Tower Easter egg?
No.
So there's I don't know which building it is, but one of the buildings that you climb up as you're looking into the glass, the reflection in the glass is the Twin Towers. But if you turn around, there's no towers.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
There's a ton of beautiful details in this. Doctor Strange's house is there. Today I took a picture of a building and I was like, "What's on that plaque?" And it was Murdoch and
no.
Yeah, it was Daredevil's attorney building. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool!" And it's just randomly here in the city. Okay, we do need to talk about the actual anime we watched. Like I said, we watched AICO Incarnation.
Good job.
Let's share our non-spoiler reviews, kind of our advisements on whether this is worth watching if you haven't yet. So let's start with the guy who picked it, Jason.
This is potential that trips over itself. I actually liked it. I think there's a lot to be desired. And I think that you've been screaming at us all week. There is a deeper story here that's not being told that we would much rather have told. I think the concept's beautiful. And I think some of the execution was done really well, especially with just this massive blob that we don't know anything about. I think they really have quite a few plot holes they never deal with, and they stumbled really bad at the end. But if I was gonna, like, if someone's on the fence about watching it, I'd tell them to watch it. Sub.
Sub.
Jeremy, how about you?
Yeah, it was enjoyable to watch. The main characters really didn't hit the spot for me that much, but everything else surrounding them and what was going on and the other characters were entertaining enough. And I've got to say that some of the beats that it did hit, it hit well enough that I don't think I'll ever forget them. Some of the scenes are very, very, they really leave an impression. So I liked it. Yep.
When we did our pre-show, we asked the question, did you like this anime to each person, just to kind of give everyone a heads up of where we're heading in. And I think I officially have to go with I don't like it, but I agree with everything everyone else has already said. There's the concept here is amazing. It might be one of the best concepts we've seen, with right up there with like Steins Gate. So for me, there's so much here. The main characters drove me crazy. I watched the first episode in the English dub, and it's one of the worst I've ever seen. And I don't notice those kind of things, and it burned my ears. Do not watch the English dub.
Do you like flying airplanes?
Do you like flying airplanes? Oh,
so good.
It's so bad. But like Jeremy said, there's a horror anime inside this that I think would be amazing. And all you would need to really do is change the main character's focus and just go a little darker. So I would not recommend it. But if you do watch it, I mean, I wouldn't blame you. So whatever.
Man, the whole, just the way that it looked like the blob was there all the time. I mean, I have horrible, traumatic memories of the Blob, the movie, when I was a little kid. Oh man, this harkened back.
And the fighting gave me Blue Gender vibes,
yes.
which especially in the first half, was like a really good horror sci-fi battling anime. All right, let's talk about the theme opening and closing. What did you guys think of those?
Skip them every time.
Every time?
Well, I mean, I watched them once.
I actually liked the intro. It took me a couple of times of hearing it, and I listened to it once more tonight before we started just to see if I did really like it. And I liked it. Yeah. Outro, no. Did not like it.
Yeah, the outro never grabbed me. The intro, I actually did not like the first couple times I watched it. When we got about midway through the anime, once the imagery made sense to the story, then I kind of got into it. Because if there was a lot of imagery at you and none of it makes sense at first, I'm a little overwhelmed. I don't know what's going on. Once you know these locations, these characters, how everything kind of ties together, it's like, oh, I see what you did here, and oh, this was actually a hint towards this plot point. That's cool. And actually, one thing I wanted to call out: there's a scene where the boy and the girl are flying through the air, reaching for each other, and they grab each other. And it's very anime opening, but it actually happens in the anime. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool that it isn't just a scene of two characters flying through the air that would never happen. It actually did happen.
Symbolic joy.
Foreshadowing.
So I like that.
The outro was just so boring it's just her legs walking, right? And there never really seemed to be a moment where that became pertinent, interesting storytelling, and the music was so soft and bland.
But it did tie into the ending.
Yeah,
to a degree.
Just because we saw a character in that outfit.
You know what the straw was?
We're in the non-spoiler section.
You know what the straw for me for the ending? Why I never watched it again. If you watch her walk and where the shadows hit, it looks like two tree stumps are going for the shadows. There's no shape of the foot. I was like, okay, I'm done.
Okay.
This is not where the budget went.
So before we get into the spoiler section, I want to call out the director was Kazuya Murata. He has done a lot of anime work, but the only other director thing I saw was he did the Full Metal Alchemist movie, The Star of Milos, which was
that makes so much sense.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood movie.
Yeah.
The writer was Yuichi Nomura, who I didn't find anything on. And then this is actually Bone Studio, known for My Hero Academia, Mob Psycho, and a ton of other great stuff. That kind of explains a lot of the great animation that you see.
What happened with the dub studio?
So from what I Reddit research, so take this with a grain of salt, is that Netflix didn't want to pay a big studio like Funimation to do it, so they hired a company down in Florida. Now, the big dub studios are in Texas, California, and New York, so there wouldn't be any dub actors around in Florida, so you would have to hire amateurs, and they're usually used for dubbing from English to another language, so they're not used to dubbing from another language into English. So it just seemed like they didn't fully know what they were doing, and because of that, the actors are over pausing to try to lip match instead of changing the line enough to lip match. Mm-hmm. It for me, it just showed like how far Funimation has come from back in the day, because this almost did have like a very 80s dub vibe, like old Voltron and stuff. And it just showed me like, wow, I mean, when you watch My Hero Academia and they really nail every dub, every episode, they've mastered the craft, and it is a craft. It isn't just, hey, let's walk in the studio and say random stuff.
It just takes me to the Mass Effect Andromeda outsourcing situation, which is very similar.
And Jeremy had declared, like, this is what all dubbing sounds like to him. But
yeah, I listened to just a little bit, and I'm like, it's bad, but this is what it all sounds like. It all sounds horrible.
You purist.
Yes.
Anime elitist.
Yes, this is one area of elitism.
To weigh, we don't have the time for this, but to weigh into the sub and dub, I've been watching Iron Blood Orphans Gundam subbed, and like every time, like I have to go grab something out of the kitchen, I come back, I'm like, I have no idea what just happened. I can't casually watch anything in sub, so dub is just the way I go.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the spoiler warning. We're now going to go into the story. It's up to you to decide if you want to go watch this, if you haven't. Otherwise, everything will be revealed from this point on. This anime deals with a Japan that has had a ecological disaster. Basically, what's called matter came from the burst. It's fleshy, gooey, blobby, tentacly, sometimes flesh.
Almost looks like a flower sometimes, the way it opens up to grab things.
Yeah. I saw, like, you can see hands in it sometimes. Uh-huh. But it's basically massive flesh that is growing down this river towards the ocean. And Japan just kind of doesn't know how to deal with it.
We should also mention that, like, in this world, they've been able to genetically master material, except for the stuff in this river, so they can make things like suits or artificial limbs with this matter, and it will you can form it to whatever you want, and it's a living being. It just doesn't have any thinking faculties.
So this anime starts off with kind of like they're called divers. There's people who go into this area where this matter has overgrown everything, and they retrieve stuff from different facilities that have been taken over. And we see this group kind of cheat another group and get to the prize, and then the matter comes in and it's like monster sneaks in through a vent and kills them.
So not to hammer on this too much, but Troy, you said you watched the first episode in dub.
Mm-hmm.
Did you rewatch it in sub?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. Because I just imagine the first one in sub, it, like even that little bout that they had just seemed a little corny, but that's just me.
I've said enough about the dub. I'm going to try not to harp on it too much because I'm sure those people tried very hard, and maybe with more time and experience, they would be better.
That's fair.
And I can't dub anything, so whatever. So that just kind of gives us a grasp of what the situation is, and then it actually kind of is a weird how they jump, and I liked how they came back to this later in the story. One of the divers, as they're running away, gets grabbed in the arm by the matter, and it sees a bunch of memories of a girl flash through his head. And then we jump to that girl, and we come to an infamous anime scene where a girl in a wheelchair gets hit with a baseball and it spins out and lays her out on the ground. I've seen that scene like a dozen times. I didn't know it was this anime. But this is our main character. What do you guys think of her? A.I.C.O? Is it A.I.C.O or A.I.C.O? Help me.
It's A.I.C.O.
Yeah.
That doesn't work because I had a nickname later that doesn't work with that.
I'm very sorry that reality doesn't match up with what you have in your head.
Doesn't conform to your jokes, man.
All right. So what did you guys think of A.I.C.O?
I thought she was
stubborn.
I thought she was kind of flat for a main character.
Well, I mean, she just started in high school. Give her a few.
She felt very tropey as far as like a damsel in distress kind of high school anime girl. You could have inserted any anime high school girl from nearly any anime, and it would have worked here. Because there wasn't really anything special about her. Which I think lends well to the anime, but also her character with the audience connecting with her, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is like there was nothing that stood out that made me really interested in her, and even where they go in the story doesn't seem to compensate for it enough. Mm-hmm. I mean, as it stands, I think having seen the whole thing, I understand where she's coming from, but she's still a dull character, and I would be distracted by anything other than her. Even though there is a legitimate reason for her to be somewhat like this. She doesn't have to be this dull. I do like what she's stuck with as far as like trying to make the decisions and figuring out who she is and how she fits into the world and how you're kind of led on this goose chase of, well, is she or isn't she human? I like everything revolving around her, but I don't really like her.
It's funny because I think in episode 2 we find out something about her that like I was like, oh man, are they going to give her like superpowers? Is she going to be like some sort of super soldier that she doesn't know about? And I was actually going to be really disappointed if something like that happened. And then later on, she's just so bland. I'm like, I kind of wish she had superpowers.
Right. Lesser of two evils at that point.
And I think that was not necessarily because for the story being told, a very normal person kind of just being thrown into this works really well. Unfortunately, they didn't develop her as a character.
I agree with everything you guys have said. And for me, the answer is she's just not interesting enough to be the main character. She should have been the MacGuffin, the secret mystery. Why are we transporting a high school girl up this, valley?
Just giving her less screen time.
And she's just like in the truck and Harley says anything and she's our point of view through the story, and she is not nowhere near interesting enough. And yet, we're going to meet so many characters who are, and it's infuriating because I'm like, I want to go hang out with those guys. Instead, I'm stuck with the high schoolers in the bus. This sucks.
Yeah.
That's how she ended up leaving me feeling. I think she's fine for the story. I don't think she's fine to be what the main character that she was.
Yeah, she should have been an enigma. That makes sense.
Right, because then she can be bland. It reminds me, like in Wolf's Rain, you know, they have a mysterious girl they have to get, and you just don't know much about her. She doesn't have much personality, but that's fine because that's her whole point. So I'm gonna do that a lot because, like I said, in my mind, there's a horror anime in here that's awesome. And as I watched it, I kept being like, I mean, if you switch that around and you move this guy here,
I was doing that constantly.
So get ready for that. So this poor girl, she is in a wheelchair, was in an accident not too long ago. All her family is dead, and she's going to this high school, and mysterious high school guy shows up at the school.
Isn't it like the day before the last day of school? Because the teacher's like, yeah, tomorrow's the last day of school, and it's really strange that we're getting a transfer student, but we are, so let's
that's true. That did happen.
Yeah.
I remember I'm still watching this part in the dub, so I'm just kind of cringing.
Oh, they probably sounded exactly like I just did then.
This is our other main character, Yu Kanazaki. I'll be calling him Yu, even though it's a little silly. They call him Kanazaki most of the time. What did you guys think of Yu Kanazaki?
It's Yuya.
It's Yu.
No, it's YUYA.
It's YU.
Oh, I'm looking at the wiki right now. So I'm smart. I got it up now. I got that wiki up.
They do spell it YUYA.
Yeah.
I swear in the dub it was YU. All right. It's
well, I wouldn't put that past the dub. Absolutely.
Okay. Yuya. What did you guys think of Yuya?
You know, he was interesting.
Really?
Because of how mysterious at this point he is. Well, actually, throughout like the first 5 episodes, he's got this mysterious vibe, and like he's got a plan, and you know, people are following him, but they don't know why, or you know, some people do know why, but they're not saying anything. So I was jazzed about this character. I was like, okay, he's kind of cardboard. He's not giving us much, but there's like something deeper here. There's a mystery, and I'm looking forward to it because he was able to do certain things, or he had certain knowledge that seemed beyond his years. But yeah, it was not very interesting.
So you're saying that didn't carry over till the end? Like by the end,
it did not pay off.
Okay.
I thought he was going to be her dad, and so from like early on, I thought, oh, all of this kind of makes sense if he's her dad, and it adds a little layer of awkwardness between him and her and their interactions, and it makes, you know, some of his mystery more interesting for me. And then when that didn't happen, but it was something similar, the whole thing just collapsed for me.
Again, this would have been a much better story if it was her dad.
Yeah, I would have liked that. So no, I did not like him. He was pure cardboard for me most of the way through, and especially how the romance played out at the end. It was so bad.
Yeah. I again, there's another character I just thought was bland. I think the two main characters really are the biggest detriment to this anime.
Yeah.
They weren't something I wanted to carry along with. Also, it really confused me that they're like, he is action hero guy. He can use the guns and he can fight and he's cool. Like he's up with these divers. Also, he's scientist guy. He's smart. Like, wait, he's both? He can jump out of windows carrying a girl and save her and fight. Like he grabs her out of a mech at one point. Like jumps on the mech and saves her. And I'm like, oh, this is like a secret agent high school guy. Yeah. That fits in anime. That's been in almost every anime ever. That's fine. And then later they're like, no, he's really just a nerd. Wait, how did the nerd get so good at fighting?
His new body.
Yeah.
Which is clearly so amazing for her. Wait, no, she doesn't have a new body. God, it's so confusing.
Dude, okay, so we're gonna get to that in a second, and I'll ask the question then. Yeah, we're gonna get to that in a second. So we also meet one other character because while she actually lives like in the hospital for her physical therapy.
Yeah, you haven't mentioned that. So the school is on the same grounds as the hospital.
Which is why she. And we meet her doctor, Dr. Isazu. I'm sure I said that wrong. What did you think of our villain? Question mark? Hashtag Troy pronounces things wrong?
Actually, I think that's one of the strong suits of this anime is there wasn't a hard protagonist or antagonist to this. I think it was more of just the situation and different people with different goals that weren't necessarily bad in of themselves. I think this guy is the closest thing that we can come to as a villain, because the moment I saw him, I was like, this dude's bad.
Even just the way they drew him, it's like,
oh, and the way that Dub had him talk is just like,
really? I am the bad guy.
Yeah, basically.
I am the bad guy.
He was okay for me. I thought he was interesting because it at least presented somebody who was doing something that I cared about, where I was actually really interested in what was going on with his daughter and why she mattered to the story and what she was going to do and why I was seeing mixes of her memories and other people's memories and stuff. It added a layer which later kind of proved to be confusing, but it was also, I'm glad it was there. Now, as far as I would have classified him as a villain because of what he was willing to do, in the sense that I imagine he would have allowed that thing to overrun the river and go out to the ocean if necessary to accomplish his goals. So I think he would have sacrificed everything to get what he wanted, which is so funny because of the way the story winds up slapping him in the face for that. But
yeah,
he almost seemed a little bit too, because of his obsession, unreasonable. Like with all of the logic and all of the sense and his capabilities, he should have been able to reason out.
Now, his daughter was hurt by the burst, right? When the matter appeared.
No.
It was a avalanche of snow.
Oh, that's
Which
right.
was skiing.
That's right. Because I was going to say, well, I mean, he's also kind of a victim of all of this, but no, that's not even true. He's just a guy who's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Let's fix my kid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's quit trying to save the world. We got to fix my kid.
Well, so she apparently went into a coma around 12 years old, and now, according to her chart in the anime, she's 18. So she's been in a coma for over 6 years, and all of a sudden, one of his research partners is able to do this amazing surgery, and his kids, to save his kid, and his kid's been in a coma for 6 years, and he can't seem to get this process to work that he's tried hundreds of times.
Okay, that begs an important question then.
That fuels his obsession.
How long has it been since the burst from when this anime starts?
Well, she was in junior high. A.I.C.O was in junior high when the accident happened. And now she's in high school? Yeah. So it's been at least 4 years.
Is she graduating high school? I mean, is this that she was
the most 4 years? Like it could have even been just a year.
It could have been just a year if she was in the last year, first year of high school.
Yeah, I guess it could have only been a year because I mean there was a height difference between the two when they.
The only reason I asked is because Dr. Sazu's daughter's flashbacks with the other scientists she became friends with, and how far back that had to then happen before the burst for all that stuff to have developed. Huh.
Well, also like the bodies, all those countless bodies that her.
Well, they
father
came from
created.
Cell Assembler 1.
That was the other body, the body that Yuya has later.
You're right. You're right. No, this was
These
just
ones were
genetic
custom
engineering
for her.
Right.
And so he would have had to have created those before the burst, because when the burst breaks out, we see them. So that means that she's definitely in a coma before the burst, and he's trying to do that thing with her mind before the burst. Well,
so
the other
his
guy.
whole idea was that her mind would basically one at a time. He was like, okay, maybe the mind will migrate to the copy, and it just never did.
Well, it seemed like in his conversation with Yuya later that he was saying it would take as long as it took evolution to create life for one of these copies to duplicate my daughter's brain, basically, or to duplicate a living brain. And so I thought maybe he knew that it was basically an impossibility, but he was still going to throw a few out there just in case. So he makes like these countless numbers and figures. Maybe if I tie her brain to these and somehow have the computations bounce a little bit, maybe that will influence their evolution and cause them to. But none of it was clear. It's all left up to interpretation. And it's hard because it seems like I'm trying to fill in a bunch of plot holes when I try to explain it away. Just weird.
Okay. Moving on in the story, the poor A.I.C.O has to go to her family home and get her stuff. She's been putting it off, but now that this cute boy's here, might as well. One thing that happens is she finds this memento her father gave her. It's like a ball, like this ball thing. It's like the silver ball.
It's almost like a huge marble. Marble.
Right. That's exactly what I thought it was.
It's super not important yet, but it will be. So remember, Troy mentioned huge ball.
Just one, though.
Lance Armstrong?
And Yuya basically turns off like a tracker that she was wearing from the hospital and says, okay, now we have to go. People are following her. They run away and they leave the town into like the
slums.
The slums, yeah. They pass like a gate too. And they basically tell her, hey, you're not a real person. You were a real person. You were in a car accident. They couldn't fix your body. So they did this thing where they took your brain and they put it in this organic robot body. And then we took a fake robot brain and we put it in your real body. And then that's the reason all this red stuff is grown everywhere. It's all because of that. And we can fix it. We just need to put you back in your real body. And she's like, that's insane. That can't be true. And he takes a knife and he cuts her across the face. I actually like that they've been hinting at this whole episode. It was actually one of the things I liked about this first episode is that like when she gets hit with the baseball, her skin darkens for a second. And then she looks and like, what happened to that skin? He cuts her with that knife and the knife breaks and her skin hardens and they tell her because she's got carbon, nano fibers, transformers, Optimus Prime
structure.
Potato. This admittedly freaks her out. And the girl who was yesterday in physical therapy and just learned how to stand up dives out a window. Anyone have problems with that?
Oh, totally.
As soon as they mentioned that her body was a fake robotic body, I totally bought it.
So this is the question I was saving for now. Do these fake bodies have superpower, strength, speed, or
presumably yes?
It seems the only superpower she possesses is that her body can't be hurt. Like she's able to fall from pretty great heights and nothing really happens to her. She just darkens for a bit and then she heals up.
So this body specifically is not. I mean, are we just discussing it hypothetically as if it were?
No. So going through the story, we believe this is the fake body.
Right. Okay. So it's just a hypothetical at this point.
Yeah, like I actually was asking about a different character. I was trying to.
You were talking about Yuya?
Gotcha. Yeah. You just throw the spoilers out. We gave the spoiler warning. Who cares?
I know it's done. I don't know. I think that the artificial organisms have shown that they almost have an instinct when it's the suits, right? We see it leap away when he stabs. But it's strange because I never really got an opportunity to see that they were particularly durable.
The divers take quite a bit of damage and they all are able to survive it.
Do they? Because almost always they just avoid. If they're hit, they usually die. Like our divers survive, but every other divers, if they get caught, they're dead. Like the ones in the intro, those two die, and then later we see a few more. It's like all the other divers, they get caught by the stuff and they're dead instantly. Our divers, they keep escaping and they keep surviving it. So, I can see.
But they can take pretty nasty hits, though.
And don't they wear them to boost their strength and speed? Isn't that the whole point of putting it on?
Yeah.
The reaction time, which I was telling you guys in chat. I thought it was a really neat idea. Well, I had said a different type of suit, but I meant organism suit.
Oh god, that was so awesome! Yes.
Anyways, I'll let the audience decide what I meant.
It would be a much more pleasurable suit.
Anyways, I thought it would deal a lot with the idea of like robotic suits. So, for instance, like the Master Chief suit. They actually deal with that in the books, where like arms, like someone will go to punch and the arm will help them, but it ends up ripping their arm nearly off and breaking tons of bones.
Yes.
This is a neat way for a suit to give a normal person abilities in a plausible way, I think.
Don't you think that it would still rip an arm off? Like, imagine that you are intending to move this way, but it senses danger and goes the other way and pulls your muscles. You know
I could see it maybe pulling muscles, but I mean, if it's there, I mean,
maybe it somehow hooks up to their brains. I don't know, or their nervous system and reads it. It does do some kind of weird syncing stuff.
They did have to do some sort of sync thing on the back of the neck. So that's possible.
Probably did. So as far as like abilities from these, I think that yes, if your body is made out of an artificial organic substance like this, then I think you're going to be faster. You should be stronger, possibly more durable.
Definitely more durable.
Okay. One thing I got to call out though, the big draw for her character is that they're like, hey, your mom and your brother are alive in a cocoon up at the facility we left him at. So she's got that motivation. But when she runs away from Dr. Kursey, who I probably need to stop and talk about, especially since Jason, you love this guy.
I do. I think his bravado is interesting. I like that he's like hides his identity at first, and his like I'm fighting against the man for a better cause. I thought was really cool. But so if I'm gonna take it, so we're supposed to be in the shoes or through the eyes of AICO. Like, why would she not work with the authorities at this point? Like, you have no idea who these people are. They on the borderline kidnapped you. They're asking you to do this most dangerous thing that you have no idea if you're going to survive. And then there's the authorities that they want to help you and get you back to school. I'm going with the authorities. Like, because the authorities are not shown in a light of bad guys at all.
I'm so sorry, audience. It's like Jason has never seen an anime before. He's a hot, mysterious dude.
Yuya?
Of course she wants to listen to him. He was both hot and mysterious. Have you not seen any anime ever? Anime girls love mysterious hot dudes.
He's a little old for her, but I guess.
Not in this body.
Okay, Jeremy, what'd you think of him?
Yeah. He was interesting. It was nice to have somebody that was kind of doing the cloak and dagger thing in the background. It was interesting to see from the perspective that he could give to fill in the bits and pieces. But he didn't make a big impression on me.
I did like him. I mean, I love a doctor wearing sandals around a hospital. Like, you just don't give a... But one thing about this anime is I felt like there was just too many doctors. There's just a lot of doctors. Too many cooks in this hospital.
Too many cooks.
There's Kursey, Kiru, Zazu, Yura, and Eiko's dad.
Yeah,
like,
Tachibana.
And they were all doctors, and I'm like, okay, like, give me a villain doctor, give me a good guy doctor, and then maybe one more doctor in between. That's enough. We didn't need 5 or 6 doctors.
It scrubs the anime. 4. Is there only 4?
He called out only 4.
I heard dad,
Dad was a doc.
5,
Yeah,
right?
so Tachibana. Yeah.
Wasn't her
Oh,
dad
okay.
5?
So yeah, that'd be fine.
And then I was being over dramatic because I'm that kind of guy. So our main character runs away and runs across the very divers who are going to be part of this mission. And one of them actually helps her escape, not realizing what's going on. But they come across the character Shiriashi, who kind of calms her down, and then the other divers all kind of meet and are like, "Oh, I guess we're the diver team." But I do want to call out Shiriashi and Daisuke, who are the leaders of this mission that they're going to go on. Because they're not the heads of it, the doctors are, but they're the military leaders. And I really, really like these characters, especially Shiriashi, who's kind of the mother of the group. She's also their mechanic, their supplier. What did you guys think of these two characters?
Not enough screen time.
Yeah, I liked them. I kind of wish that they were in the forefront more.
I thought they were fine for their purpose. Unfortunately, they ended up being just plot drivers and not. They ended up being narrative exposition in a person, and I really didn't like that because I think they could have had a lot more impact, especially and the girl one, God, I can't remember her name all of a sudden, had more impact later on, but yeah. That's my thoughts.
I don't agree. I agree they didn't have enough screen time, and I agree with that for all the divers. Like I think the divers should have been the main characters because they were all very interesting. I found these two very interesting. The fact that there's obviously a history there, they know how everything works all the way to the major facility. There's a relationship there that it's all very subtle and background. It's not in your face exposition about who they are, but all that. Knowing looks to each other and stuff just really helped with the world building of them and their history. I didn't need to be told it, but man, I thought they were interesting characters, especially since one, tragically doesn't make it to the end. And when he goes down, because of Shiriashi's reaction to it and those little moments of, knowing glances to each other, being able to push buttons at the same time. And you're like, oh man, I felt that.
They're more than just a team of operatives.
Right.
Yeah, the two of them.
I really liked her as the mother hen of the group, but also the cool tank driver. Yeah, tank driving's cool. So these divers all are gathered and are offered this job. It's a ton of money, but they're going all the way to what's the middle, the origin.
Primary point.
Primary point.
Yeah, so one thing we should probably explain a little bit is this is so far away that they've gone through, 4 dams?
Yeah, the river had multiple dams, and they turned them into gates to stop this, and it hasn't worked, and now they're at the last gate before it hits the ocean.
And also we should point out that divers that go beyond number 2 never come back. And now we're being asked to go 4 gates in and then to primary point. So this is a very dangerous mission.
And they're not told this will end the burst. They're just told yeah, you just need to get us there. You don't need to know why. So there's not even look, it's hard to get there, but if we get there, we win. It's we have to get there, and as far as they understand, they also have to get back.
Which would lead so well to AICO being the mystery girl that doesn't get any screen time.
Yes. Yeah, it would. I really wasn't sold on why these 4 divers agreed to the contract. Money is only useful if you can spend it. And with the kind of danger that this really posed, a desire for adventure and challenge also can only go so far. Just the sheer levels of danger that they posed in the way that they presented, like you did just now, when you pointed out the difference between the first and the second step in versus all the way back to primary point. It's a suicide mission.
Right. And
I don't understand why they agreed.
I also don't get, why did they make it a competition? Because they were oh, here's your initial payment, but the rest of the payment only the winners get. And it's
Yeah,
like,
I didn't like that either.
why is there competitions for such a dangerous mission?
Well, and they're told like when we reach a certain point, we're leaving two of you behind. Only two of you, one team, because there's they're in teams of two. They're like one team will go the whole way. You're competing halfway to figure out which one's there, and that ends up turning to be a lie. I guess it was just to pull out their A games.
Which I kind of thought that they might perform better if they thought of their whole group as a team instead of as competition.
Right. That's what I thought too, but because you saw the girl ended up making crazy, dangerous maneuvers that ended almost killing her because she's trying to win imaginary points in a game that doesn't matter.
Well, and they even pointed out that they have this database called, what was it, Evasion or something like that. They have this database, and the database is actually grading their performance in real time. So it was almost like they were trying to genuinely make a sort of tournament arc for this anime, but they didn't commit enough. Yeah, they didn't commit enough to make it something that would sell as a tournament arc. It's just like a tournament arc sticker on the anime that quickly falls off.
Right.
At the end of this episode, the government shows up and kidnaps A.I.C.O and takes her back. She meets actually, we're not going to really talk about it, with the character Nanami Ozanami, who's the agent who takes her. And they're like, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
The one that had the curly bangs?
Yeah, she led the military team in the
I liked that character.
And she's kind of like, yeah, you're safe with us. It's weird you went with them. Yeah, we were the ones following you, but that's totally normal. You're a hospital patient. You should trust us. Meanwhile, they're also interrogating Yuya, who also was grabbed. But the divers then show up and save them before they were able to be taken home, away. And this is where Yuya jumps like on the mech and rips A.I.C.O out and saves her. And
by the way, those mechs are cool.
Oh, I love those.
I did like them. I something about rollerblading mechs that just have always worked for me.
They almost look like loaders from Aliens, but on roller skates.
Yes.
Yep. I think it's also really funny how like the people are not down inside the mech usually. They are literally from their waist up. They're out and up above the mech shooting with their guns.
Well, and the mechs can be autonomous. They can drive on their own, and there's a lot of the tech I thought was cool in this. The fact they basically have a Wikipedia for how to fight the matter, which they called instinct. That's not right.
That's what I was talking about with that. Like, I don't know if it's evasion or what. I remember it started with an E, but yeah, big Wikipedia database on
evidence. It's called evidence.
Evidence.
And it's basically a Wikipedia that all these divers contribute to. And so whenever they run across something that doesn't work, they're like, whoa. My favorite part was when they say, don't always trust evidence. Like, someone could write down something wrong. And I was like, oh, it is Wikipedia.
Yep.
Well, and I love that the bullets weren't just bullets, but they were actually like little syringes of different types of toxins or medicines that would
matter, needs different weapons and different.
So like they would change clips, and it wasn't like they were changing from hollow point to exploding rounds. No, it was like, oh, this toxin it's immune to, so I need to switch to like a tranquilizer, or I need to change to some sort of actual poison, right?
I thought that was really cool, but the lasers confused me with that. It's like, if they're vials, I get it, but like maybe
so the lasers cut different pieces off, but unfortunately that wouldn't keep it from growing. The bullets crystallized huge areas, and that was much more effective. Because then it couldn't just grow a new limb and come at you, because the whole area would get crystallized.
So the laser was basically like a cauterizer if you were using it to slice and it was on weak flesh, otherwise it could just go right past it. And then the other stuff was
that made sense why they used it on the human forms.
Right.
That they ran into because they're like, we don't know how to fight these, and they pull out these guns and they start blasting. I'm like, well, that seems pretty effective. But if they just always have a weapon that cuts through flesh, but it doesn't stop growth. And
that was weird because there was another set of divers that encountered the human forms, and none of their weapons had any effect. So I don't know. There's a lot of confusing things in this anime.
We then are properly introduced to all our divers. We've seen them here and there, but let's talk about them. First up, we have the male team. Sagami, who wears the blue suit, and Kaisuke, who wears the green suit. Sagami's kind of the veteran, gruff member of the team, and Kaisuke's the I'm totally in love with the main character, and I'm passionate, and I should have been the main character of this anime. What do you guys think of them?
Out of the two teams, I like them the best.
Sexist.
I thought it was neat that Kaisuke was like a rich kid that like ran away from that lifestyle because he wanted to like prove himself. And everyone makes fun of him like, okay, that's fine, but what about that cool, really expensive arm you got because you lost one, idiot?
He's like, I suffered and got a robot arm. You were bought the best robot arm on the market. We're not going to feel bad for you.
Right. No, but I thought their like chemistry was the best to watch, and then also I liked Kaisuke, and Sagami kind of upset me, but I could kind of see where he was coming from in all of his lines, because it's like we were in the most dangerous situation, and I'm only here to deliver you. Like, the only person I'm really interested in protecting and making sure is with me is Kaisuke, because he's my business partner.
Yep.
He helps me make a paycheck.
Yep. Yeah, it was strange. I really like these characters. This is part of where I think that the romance went strange in this anime, and I'm not a proponent of a lot of romantic stuff in animes, and I usually don't care about. I usually don't care about who winds up with who. It's like, what does that matter? It's pointless. But in this one, it was like this character like comes right out and confesses his love for the main protagonist character to someone who later winds up like completely ignoring that. Whatever, like. I don't know. It just irked me. Also, this was another weird plot point that I'm a bit confused on. Maybe you guys can enlighten me on it. Kazuki got those memories because in the first episode,
the matter touched his
arm. So was it because it interfaced through his artificial arm because it's not connected to his...
It must be, but there is like some hinting of psychicness throughout this whole thing.
Because he lost his arm previously to the burst.
Yeah,
I'm wondering why he didn't get the memories then. If it's contact with the burst that gets you the memories. So
it had to be because it touched his fake arm.
Had to be the fake arm then, which that's just super weird. I don't understand why that worked that way. It doesn't seem like it's explained that in any way.
It seems to only affect those that are part of it. So I think because it has his arm, it has a part of him. So when it touched the organic stuff, it
uploaded.
Yeah, well, it was able to interface with him because it had part of him already inside it. That seems to be the only connection between the other characters that they have in common.
So it's equivalent to have an artificial prosthetic version of the arm actually having it integrated into you?
So if someone had the exact same arm as he did, but they lost their arm to, say, a traffic accident, they would not have gotten the memories because the goo didn't have their DNA already, is my guess.
Oh, you think because it ate his arm, it was able to...
Because it ate his arm and then later touched his prosthetic arm, is why he got the memories. If his arm wasn't already in the goo, I don't think he would have got it, because that's the only other connection that the other characters have that are experiencing this.
Yeah. See, because I don't understand how his arm, being made of artificial organism, is any different from the suits that they're all wearing. The suits are as prosthetic as his arm is prosthetic.
Right, so but the other characters don't have their DNA in them.
Exactly. That would be the only thing that's missing. But still, like, I don't know if that's actually what they intend. Like, it's interesting.
Yeah. I have no clue. I think that's just a theory of mine.
So I was a bit irked by him because it's I don't know. even with your explanation, it seems like it's so like you're really working hard to make this work.
Oh,
and
it's flimsy.
Yeah. I can appreciate that more than most, I think. But yeah, I actually really liked the blue character. I'm just going to call them by colors because I can never remember their names well. I like the blue guy, the no nonsense gruff guy, because yeah, I completely understood every time that he was talking about, you know, I'm here to make sure everybody makes it home, or make sure at least I and my friend make it home. But at the same time, he tested Yuya out by essentially threatening her, and then remarked on how Yuya's actions were not corresponding to his speech. You know, you're saying that you don't care, but clearly you're trying to kill me. And you're saying that you're okay with her dying, but you're trying to kill me when I threaten her. So in a way, he's almost trying to prove the point that he doesn't want her to die, doesn't think that she should die, which, again, spoilers, we'll get there. But so it almost made him a bit more of an empathetic, a character that I could have more empathy with. Maybe he was empathizing more with the characters that were around him than he gave off.
Yeah.
We even see that with Kaede.
I really like Sagami as the gruff heart of gold guy, and I really think he is, especially his respect for Daisuke, the leader of this team, and how much he looks up to him, how much he admires him. He really takes the job seriously. But, and I've already mentioned this, I think Kaisuke should have been our main character. He very much fits the bill of a main anime character. He's in love with the mysterious girl he's transporting. He's, you know, willing to self-sacrifice to get the mission done. You know, he runs out of his mech to grab the sample, right? And he gets hurt. The only thing I wish for him is that he didn't start with an artificial arm and ended up with one halfway through. I think that would have been a way cooler story beat and a little scarier. Like, oh my God, like this thing is ripping them apart. Instead, he's already got a robot arm and he loses it twice.
You've more than sold me on him being main character. Holy crap!
Yeah.
Especially with his relationship with the other guy, like
the mentor, but the guy that he wants to beat.
Yeah, he's the young new guy on the team, and he's energetic. Oh my God, I didn't say we had you yet. Okay, we gotta talk about the other characters. Right. Sari and Kaede. This is the purple and the orange. What did you guys think of them, the female team?
Purple was good. I liked her. Orange kind of pissed me off, but she was kind of that tropey, I'm going to show everyone how great I am kind of anime character. And I don't know. It didn't stick to me very well. But I liked Sari. I think she was I liked how stalwart and clear-headed she was throughout the whole story.
I'm the exact opposite. I like Kaede, and Purple was just kind of there. She was sort of the downer for me. Like she was always like, everything was so serious, and whereas Kaede was fun. I loved the fact that she was constantly leaping around doing acrobatics. She had a chip on her shoulder. I thought it was interesting how they all seemed to have their own unique way of fighting physically, their styles. And Kaede was really interesting to watch. She was entertaining. She was very action-packed, high movement, high acrobatics. But she was also constantly getting people in trouble because of her antics and because she was trying to prove something. And I thought it was kind of cool how she actually, I don't want to say she had the only arc because there were arcs, but she had an arc. She had a good arc. To the point where, she both has a potential romance and has maybe gotten over something that's held her back in her own personality by the end of the series. And I actually really enjoyed that character.
Actually, she was the only one that made me kind of laugh out loud. Is they got to that first gate and she heard their showers and she just immediately rips everything off and goes bolting for them.
Right for it. Yep.
I love it.
Did not even care.
And one thing I appreciated about it is the anime was grown up enough about it that you didn't have 5 guys with blood spurting out their noses and
yes.
Everyone's shy. It was very much this is a down and dirty job, and when we get a chance to take a break, we take it.
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciated that.
I like both characters. I kind of wish Saria had more to do. She's kind of she's the best at the research, right? And she's as much a veteran as Sagami is. But I did feel like she kind of got shifted to exposition a little too much. A little too much of the person who hears the conversation, so she has to explain to everyone else what it's actually happening. Kaede, I really liked. I liked that there was two newbies, and yet they had different personalities. They were newbies in their own way. And I super ship Sagami and Kaede.
Oh yeah.
Because they were so opposite, because he's so I'm a gruff guy, and she's like, I'm a happy fun girl. And I'm like, oh, you need some Kaede in your life, Sagami.
I think the thing that sold me on Sari was when she came to apologize for her partner. Just kind of showed the like not only how serious she took this particular dangerous job, but also that she showed a level of responsibility that I think only Sagami could not only appreciate, but also showed throughout the whole thing.
So we've already talked about the suits which they put on. The matter at the gate. This is the last gate before the last town, before the ocean. That matter becomes active, and so Japan starts kind of freaking out. Like, okay,
oh, that's right. Because if it hits the ocean, not only will it most likely take over all of Japan, because it feeds on the water, right?
I don't know if they ever said that, but because it followed the riverbed, that's what I assumed.
They said this could turn into a world catastrophe.
Yeah, if it cannot hit the ocean, or they're screwed. You're right at that. So but I don't remember them ever saying like it eats water to reproduce. I actually was wondering like how it produced.
No, that's why it laid in the riverbed.
From what I understood, if I remember correctly, yes, it is using the water.
Did they say it though?
I think I remember them saying it.
Okay.
That's why it wasn't like climbing over the mountains or going through the forest.
Right. So they decide to go for it. They go past the gate. One other thing, AICO will draw the matter to them. So they're giving her, Yuya gives her a special drug and tells her to keep it a secret that will hopefully suppress the attraction the matter has to her.
It suppresses some secretions that she makes.
That she's making, yeah.
And yeah, they don't tell the divers, which I thought was a really bad decision because they already know they're going on a really dangerous mission. But
so they rush through the gate, and then right after, Tokyo's like, "Shut the gate down!" And so they get trapped off.
And of course, the reason is because there's this whole cloak and dagger thing going on about how they don't want her going out there because there's that lady with the short hair that knows she's going, and so she sent commands to shut the gate and not let anybody go through.
Akiko Nanbara, I was super confused about how much she knew at any one point in time, because Kurosei is obviously pretending to be buddy with everyone. I'm on your side, but really he's the one behind this whole mission. Akiko, who's a friend of his and is now the head of this government agency, but they're interested more in the research and how they can make money off of this technology. And if they're worried that they destroy the matter, it's going to ruin stuff, but they have to control the matter at the same time. Mm-hmm. I was really unsure whose side she was on the entire anime.
She was on her own side.
Yeah. She was
she was very much...
What's her goal? Just
keep the burst alive. She needs to keep it around so that they can research on it.
Yeah, because she's worried about the economy crashing and her own riches going in the toilet from not having access to this thing that they could research and mass produce and sell.
Okay. That makes sense.
And I don't think that she knew that AICO was in there already, but she anticipated that they were going to try to send her in because there's this opposing view that wants to try to find some way to get rid of the burst.
Right. So she's not only fighting this small group, she's also fighting the government who wants to just bomb the crap out of it.
Yep.
Okay. So one cool thing is that this entire matter is covered in like this creepy fog. So it's never a bright sunny day when you're fighting this monster.
And it's actually really secreted from the monster too.
Yeah, it makes it. The first thing they run into is diver suits full of matter that like get up and start attacking them. They have to fight past that. a lot of the fight scenes kind of blend together for me, but I think they were really the highlight of the anime. It was very atmospheric. Every second was dangerous. And because they're going further, it kind of had that Made in Abyss, stakes are getting higher and higher and higher, harder and harder and harder the whole time. They try splitting up. That doesn't work, so they have to regroup in the river.
Which they were trying to avoid because that's where the majority of the mess is in the riverbed.
So usually the strategy is, one pair of divers will go down into the riverbed and like piss the matter off while they sneak AICO and Yuya around they're trying to get to the dams, because these dams, we find out, have these giant blades that come down and electrify the matter, and it will destroy everything downriver. I don't know why it doesn't go upriver.
It goes a little bit upriver, but it doesn't destroy it. It just shocks it and makes it dormant for a while.
When did they build these?
They built them as the thing was progressing, right?
It does kill it.
So this is kind of how it works, right? So you have primary point. When it bursted and it started going into the river, they retrofitted the dam, because I think the dams were already there.
You know how long it would take to build those giant guillotine things?
Well, this is Japan, and if they've got a lot of money, resources, and they've got a biological hazard on their hands, I can see.
And there's tentacles everywhere.
Right,
they're busy.
So this really bugged me.
Yeah, so they built the first gate. It got past that gate. They tried using the guillotine. It didn't stop it after a while, so they went downriver and built the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and that's how they got built.
I anticipated that that's what they did, but I'm unclear on how long the burst was around and how fast it was moving. And so knowing how long it takes to build large constructions.
Well, I mean, they traveled quite a few miles to get to this place. So, I mean, but yeah, so so when the guillotine comes down, it cuts it off from its source. So everything downriver gets killed. They also electrify it, which the electricity will then stun quite a ways away upriver and give them like a half day worth of respite.
I also wondered if this was so easy that these guys were capable of doing it repeatedly with a team of 8 people. Why didn't anyone do this before? Not all the way up, but even just a couple. To just go up and hit the dams and make the guillotine come down.
My understanding is it got too dangerous to reach them.
But look, these guys are getting through.
Yeah, I know.
But they're specialists. I mean.
It's like they're all specialists. They're just
impossible. This is the most dangerous mission of all time.
See, I don't know. They were even indicating that, we never see monsters like this in this zone. They're always so far beyond in the later zones, which means that this zone was actually, the last time they were out here, it was much easier to go through. So non-specialists should be able to get through it just fine to get to the first dam.
And why didn't Godzilla come? No, and the biggest thing that actually bugged me was, well, if it's in the river, why aren't you just go around?
Take a plane.
That was my biggest issue.
That's good. Oh, I guess I was stuck on the river.
I got the impression that, with the way Shiriashi and Daisuke, they didn't go in and how do we work this thing? They're like, we've done this a dozen times. They slammed the button. So I had the impression, especially the first couple, that they used the first couple gates, pretty frequently, and that's how the divers were able to get to it. But that the other higher has just gotten so dangerous they can't get to the gates anymore.
Right.
I guess that could work.
The matter is already back to the main gate by the end of the anime, right? Even though they've been shocking it all the way up.
Yeah, that can't be possible. If they've just think about it, visually, they kill the first section by dropping the guillotine. Then they go up, they kill the second section, and then they kill the third section. When did it get how did it move past each step? They're cutting it off higher and higher up. How could it possibly go back down and fill?
Or just
why was the government so scared at the end? They were like, man, this is happening. This is to go.
Well, so it was also going around the guillotines, right? So there was live stuff on the end that only got shocked. So maybe it was able to revive a bunch of Like once the shock part got over,
Maybe
it was
there's
able
not
to
an
revive.
answer. We're slamming our head against a wall here.
All right, let's move on.
Okay. The one other thing that in this episode is they meet the human forms matters, which we find out later is like a whole different matter.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like 4 different matters in this anime.
Eventually, I actually am going to name them. There's
Okay.
matter A, matter I, matter Y.
Awesome.
Why?
Matter AC and matter AK.
So in the first dam, this is where they shower and they resupply. Is this where they get?
This is where they get the
Hamster
ball that
thing?
runs
Beetle?
into the
Gumi.
gumi.
They go on guard duty. This is where they get the tank, the beetle. So Shiriashi starts prepping the tank. This is actually where I wrote down right here. Yuya is Yura.
Nice call.
Because of the way Shiriashi talks to him in the tank. The way she's talking to him, like she's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And it's like, "Oh, he's responsible for this. He's the guy." And so that's when I wrote that. And I've been thinking about it for a while. Also, every time Sazu was looking at memories of Dr. Yura, the next scene would show Yuya. It would like instantly cut to Yuya every time.
Subliminal.
So
at this point, I thought it was her dad, but
yeah, me too.
he died.
he did.
Yep.
So they get that. I love the tank.
Oh, Beetle was awesome.
Also, I want to call it. I love the tank's quick scene in the intro. I didn't call that out. I think in the theme when it shows everyone driving through the valley and it zooms into the tank and onto Shiriashi's face. I love that entire cut. That's so good.
Yep.
Probably like my favorite part of the anime.
30 seconds, or actually more like 10 seconds of the intro.
Yeah. And then remember the ball. You guys remember the ball? Well, the ball comes to life. Alarms go off because she drops it into an electric circuit. It gets fried, and then it comes to life. And apparently, it was always alive. It's a hollow creature, and they call it Gummy.
Gumi.
What
the hell is this thing?
It's just one of the life forms.
No, it's one of 12. It's one of 12 promotional products for the organic material.
Yeah, but it's just artificial organic material.
It's one of the one of the only 12. Yeah, it's part of the 12 that were actual creatures, like that had instincts. They could eat, drink. They can show emotion.
Okay, this becomes AICO's companion because
this thing pissed me off.
I did not like that it was here. I kept thinking
I did not like it at all.
Yeah, it's diluting the flavor of what this anime seems like it's supposed to be by bringing too much cutesy. Yeah.
Now, if this thing had like hit the electricity and like came out and like ate one of them and then started waking up the matter around them, I think that would have made for a much better story. Check out our last mini-sode if you'd like to see how I'd fix a different anime. Anyways. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. It's very similar.
Yes.
Honestly, I feel like as much as I love these characters, I think like one or two more deaths.
Oh yeah.
And just being a little darker and scarier. There's definitely a horror vibe in a lot of these scenes, and I kind of wish they'd embraced it. And people did die in monster movie ways, and I was happy with those.
Join us on the dark side, Joy.
Not everything has to be happy feeling. I love horror anime too.
Actually, I really liked, but also was sad, like to see the what happened to the lady, the law enforcement lady.
Yeah.
Oh, that made me really sad.
That was awesome, though.
Right. That was great.
It was awesome, but like, yeah, I actually cared.
Yeah.
We have a scene with AICO and Yuya. He calls her like he treats her like she's an object. He's talking about Gummy, but he also kind of refers to her like you're not real. You're just things. I'm dealing with you. And so she gets all emotional and upset. She runs outside because Gummy ran outside. So she chases after him, falls down a hill. Daisuke finds her and is like, "Hey man, don't get so mad at that kid. He's got a lot going on." And then they get in the tank and they go. And then the government sends in their own troop, led by the very team that Jason, or the lady Jason just mentioned, who's not going to like the next episode.
No, she's not.
I think it's two more.
But up to this point and even a little bit farther until we get the next big reveal of Twist, I was trying to understand how the burst was coming from the original AICO's human body, because clearly if this is the artificial body, then the burst is a manifestation of a cancerous growth from the real human body. So all of this blob is literally her physical human body. And I was, it was so gross, but I kind of liked it. Like, this is interesting.
So for me, they had said, we couldn't save you, so we put you in an artificial body, but then we put an artificial mind in your real body. And I'm like, wait, why would you bother with that second part? What? Why do you need to save a broken body that you can't save anyway? That's weird. Whatever, anime.
Yeah.
Hand wave.
It definitely seemed contrived to tell the story they want to tell.
They go away. Kaede messes up. She starts showing off, and because she doesn't distract the matter well enough, it gets inside of the beetle and gunks it up, and they have to stop for repairs. While they're repairing, this is where we figure out how they're making the ammunition on the fly, right? Yuya's literally taking samples from inside and inventing it, and they're like, wow, that guy's pretty smart. That's weird.
Great touch.
That was cool.
I did think it was cool because they're heading into uncharted territory.
And he's got all kinds
new
of
monsters.
Gear. Yeah, like, I mean, he's even able to reprint a new arm in there. So he's got an awesome high-tech 3D printer. He's got some cool stuff.
After they fix the tank, they get to the next gate. Before they get to the gate, there's a matter ceiling. Literally, the growth is made like a tunnel, and they have to go into it. It gets active because apparently that suppressant isn't very good.
So the divers mentioned at this point, don't worry about the ceilings. The ceilings never do anything. And of course, as they go under, it becomes active.
Right.
Yep.
Kaede goes. This is part of her arc. You know, she's being all crazy, but she gets saved by her hero Sagami.
I mean, the hero you picked out for her.
Or she picked him.
Yeah, seriously, I didn't see the ship coming until this moment. I was like, okay.
Yep.
This is where AICO starts realizing she can sense the matter, and she starts being able to warn them about incoming attacks. She's like calling them out, it's coming from there, and they're using the laser on the tank to cut through it. Oh yeah, they do use the lasers to cut. That's very well established thanks to the beetle.
Yep.
Look, I watched the anime too, guys. I wrote all these notes.
This story beat was weird for me. I could definitely buy the fact that she could like sense it. That was cool. What I didn't find cool was the divers didn't even give it a second thought. Like they mention it. They're like, oh, she knows where it's coming from. How? And then like it's just dropped.
No, and she's feeling its pain, which they ignore.
Right. Like that bugged me a lot.
I think the pain was kind of concealed so that the only ones who saw it were Yuya and the white
when
suit.
they drop the gate, everyone sees her like scream.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh,
I think so. Because in the tank, you're right. Only like Shiraishi sees it, but when they drop the gate, she's in the room, and I was kind of upset with the mumbled psychicness that they just kind of were adding to the story without reason.
There's like a quantum link between the brains that just
they
were just connected now,
right?
Yeah,
and they kind of establish it with Yuya's little. Like, I have a brain scanner, and now I can see your dreams. So, obviously, dreams can be sent. We have that technology. That it's also happening between these two brains because, it's cool if they do.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I kind of like that they didn't go into too much fictional mumbo jumbo. Like they just said, "Hey, this thing exists. You're gonna have to accept it if you want to continue watching this anime." I think in some cases, I think it was appropriate here that it is an appropriate way to keep telling the story.
oh man, I mean, you guys know me. Usually, I'm 100% with you. I was actually thinking about this. There's Dragon Ball Z is a science fiction, right? But I don't wonder why Vegeta can stand out in open space, but Goku has to hold his breath underwater. It's fine. You know, I don't need the science of Dragon Ball Z explained, because even though it's science fiction, it's not really about the science. But when I watch Ghost in the Shell, it is about the science. Like, they go into great detail to explain, you know, this is how our minds link to the internet, and this is how our bodies work, and blah, blah, blah. So when it doesn't line up, it's like, wait, you took all this time to explain it. It's got to make sense. This one kind of leans towards Ghost in the Shell to me, because it's so science-based in the concept that for there just to also be psychicness just hits my Jeremy nerve.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, right?
I'm having an out-of-body experience here listening to this.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it psychicness. I think it's more of a just connectedness.
Well, let's not forget there's a whole nother person whose all memories are also like getting mixed in because she's downriver, and
but she's physically connected though
to other things
that happens to be also organic matter that's in the same area.
So the organic matter can transmit data.
Oh yeah, they established that.
So that makes sense why when the guy's arm got caught, he had an organic matter arm. He would have got her memories.
So why does Yuya have to wear one of those head bracelets to share her dreams? If he's artificial organic matter and her brain is artificial matter, why can't he just kick in and sense it?
I didn't write the anime.
Answer for your crimes, Jason.
No, well, he was a different. He came from
generation.
Generation, and also a different assembler.
Yeah, it's true. He was from Cell Assembler 1.
Yeah, I just wanted to call that because usually I'm 100% on Jason's team with what he said about, you know, it's got to tell a story. We can't explain everything. But there's some times when you're like, look, we're an anime that is going to explain everything except for this one thing.
Yeah, I have so many problems with this anime's plot, science, and explanations. So.
And Vegeta does stand in open space with no problem.
He totally does. He annihilates
does have
planets.
to hold his breath underwater. Okay, that
yeah.
is a fact.
Hey, another one. I got to get this off my chest. SpongeBob constantly has campfires. How's it doing?
Yes. They must be plasma.
They're water fires.
Actually, one episode they call it out. It's like, how do we have this fire? And then it goes out.
Okay. You've really hit the pinnacle of your show when you bring SpongeBob onto it. You know?
Boom.
Okay.
Mainstream, buddy.
Fairly Odd Parents next week.
Yuya is able to create the ammo they need. They're able to get through this. Kazuki loses his arm grabbing the sample, though. This is where he sacrifice kind of jumps out of his thing. I like that, like, yeah, we can get ammo to beat this, but someone's got to go touch it.
Yes.
That's rough.
Send the guy that has a fake arm.
It's also just his robot arm, and they just make him a brand new one. Yep. Again, that's something I wish hadn't happened. I wish it would have been really cool for the character arc and stuff to, like, oh my god, what we're doing is terrifying. And they're like, oh, but we got you a new arm. Are you kidding?
This is not okay.
Then the government sends their divers to... the government reaches them because they reach a tunnel that's full of the matter. And then they get pinched between this tunnel and the government. And this is where that character is like, hey, A.I.C.O, what are you doing with these weird guys? You don't even know who they are. This is crazy. You should come with us. Is that a matter above me? Ah! Gets eaten. Yeah.
I was so sad. I was like, oh, come on. The government agents have to last longer than this. They're gone. They're obliterated.
She has 2 scenes in this anime. She gets a name like and everything. I wrote her down. I'm like, this is an important character. She's really important to. Oh, she's dead. She's dead. They use light to attract the matter on the other side of the tunnel to make it leave it.
Well, they noticed that they was attracted to light. They were like, turn off your lights, but then the government people didn't turn off their lights, so it attacked the government people and not them. So
why was this matter attracted to light? And
I think it's always they just didn't realize.
No one's ever noticed that.
Of course, then it begs the question: was it just the matter in the tunnel that was attracted to light, or was all the matter attracted to light? Because it was coming from the riverbed. And then if that's the case, why didn't they just turn off all their lights and then just go?
Bam! There you go.
All the way to primary point without getting caught.
It's gonna attack you anyway. It's attacking them because of AICO. Well, it's actually attacking them because of.
Well, if that's the case, on the bridge when they turn off their lights, they would have been attacked.
My theory is that it's attacking anything that moves that might be nutrition and possibly looking for a brain.
No, because it was explained later that it has this fight or flight instinct, and it's just attacking anything that moves.
Yeah, but there's no animals either. There's.
Oh yeah, it eats everything.
Pushing forward, we need time to complain about the ending, guys.
Okay, all right.
We're gonna have to curb our nitpicks, and that goes double for me. They pass the flower. There's the big flower scene where the big flower thing attacks them. They get to the next gate. It's interesting that AICO's skin shows damage now when they damage the matter. She's actually showing physical signs of damage, like her body's reacting
more strongly the closer they get to it. Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't have time for that. She's passing out when the other brain is passing out. They are psychically linked. I mean, obviously they are, but
it's a quantum link between the 2 brains because they're the same brain.
And then this is where both diver teams are like, "Hey, you both get the job! Yay!" Sari overhears AICO and Yuya talking about their secrets, about them being attracted and what's going on. She overhears it over the radio. I'm guessing they left the Beetle radio on.
I guess.
Yeah. So she knows now.
She doesn't look happy about it.
This part upset me more of a storytelling strategy because it wasn't just they're not going to like me because I'm artificial. Like they didn't leave any ambiguity. It was just she stands up and gives an exposition of everything about her, and it's like, who talks like this?
Okay.
Are we back to the dub?
Some stuff, I think I skipped over some of this, but Kurosei's been fired from the hospital. Sazu. The old man is dying or dies, so this gives Sazu access to Dr. Yuro's files, which were being hidden by this old doctor that all these other doctors had worked for.
Yep.
I think.
Mm-hmm. He was basically running the place.
Right. And this is where Kurosei learns that Dr. Sazu's daughter's brainwaves are matching with the matter's activity. And they're like, oh, that's super weird. And then they keep traveling. They go past K2, the second gate, third gate. This is K2 is what they called it. But I had trouble
the mountain
with the numbering system.
Yeah.
Anyway, they have to go back into the riverbed. And it attacks the beetle and actually gets inside. And they lose, and AICO gets grabbed and pulled out and
put in a cocoon.
And she's able to grab a gun and shoot her way out. But everyone's like, wait a second, how come you and Yuya aren't rushing to put on suits? Because you shouldn't be able to breathe, and this stuff is bad for you. And they're like, oh, we're special?
And then Sari gives them up immediately, they don't need suits.
Yep.
They also notice Yuya is not wearing a suit as well. And this, Daisuke's like, okay, we lied to you guys. There's everything that's going on. And
I didn't understand why the matter put AICO in a cocoon. Like, at this point, is it the matter or like the artificial body, or is it the other AICO brain that's putting her in the cocoon? Because the two are warring.
right, both. Like the matter is the one that grabbed her, and it's the brain that cocooned her to protect her.
So you have to remember, it was the exact same cocoon that they put mom and brother in.
Right.
So
Which was
this
done
must
to
have
save
been,
them.
this must have been an AICO matter because it was the same.
What did she think she was going to accomplish?
Oh,
Not
she's been
letting
trying to
her
get her
killed?
this whole time.
Right, but what happens to her when she's in the cocoon?
Not killed.
But how does that solve AICO's not passing out and
Oh, she
losing
doesn't.
control of the matter?
But she's not
Remember,
part of that whole thing.
Yeah, Aiko's the brain in the matter is not trying to save herself. She's just trying to protect them.
Yeah.
And that's like the only thing she can do. Like once it grabs you and it's gonna crush you, she's like, well, I can make it into a cocoon and so it doesn't kill you. That's like all I can do. And later we see it can do more. But not yet.
That's what I mean. It doesn't match with what her later actions are.
I just think
she's the pink goop. Like, she controls the pink goop, which literally struggles with the red goop.
But
she doesn't control it fully.
Yeah.
No, but I mean,
the closer you get, the more control she has.
Sure, yeah. Which is why I'm like, I don't know. It seems to me like it's the actual matter that's putting her in the cocoon, and maybe it was planning to dissolve the body and take the brain into itself or something. That's what I thought maybe it was doing, but they didn't go there.
There's no exposition here.
Yeah,
we have no idea what it was doing.
Yep.
So Dr. Sazu gets the files that he wants, and he finds out about basically a prototype body before AICO's, and that a secret operation was performed on the deceased Dr. Yura, and he was put into this body that was made for another kid, but it didn't end up getting to use it, so they just had this spare body laying around, and Dr. Kurose put Dr. Yura in this kid. This is Yua. Dr. Yuya is Yura, but we already know that.
And they just cut his hair. Because he had like Super Saiyan level 3 hair.
You can grow hair really fast in this anime if you
Yeah.
want to.
Oh, the hair of the mother and the brother are indicators of how long they've been in there, and that looks like about a year's growth.
I don't know what a year's growth looks like in hair.
Here.
Oh, it turns into a man bun.
That's right.
Now we know what a year's worth looks like.
That's right.
Oh, good.
Okay. I gotta get us back on track. We gotta keep going. They stop at Sari's old work, for
nostalgia
capsule. There's ammo there they can grab. Then they get attacked. This is where the beetle actually gets destroyed, and they have to jump out. And right before the matter attacks them and kills them, Daisuke jumps in the way, and he gets stabbed and killed. I think it's super cool and horrific that when he gets stabbed, he shoots it, and so it crystallizes into him.
And the weight actually pulls him and the bipod over. Yeah. Right. That's cool.
super, super horrific. They're like, oh, I beat you. Oh, that's still bad for me.
Yes.
This really affects the group. Sagami, who's like, hey, I told you I would kill you after he learned the secret. Like, I'd kill you if I needed to save us, and I feel like now I need to save us. He pulls out his gun, points it at both of them at first, right? But he goes to shoot Yuya. They see that Yuya is crying, though, and so he pulls back, and they manage to activate one last gate before they go to the final gate. This is Daisuke. This is kind of our big hero death of the main characters. Like I said, I wish there was more, but this was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the grief was genuine too. From
like
Shiriashi.
I said, I had felt the connection between these Daisuke and Shiriashi. I thought through the storytelling, so I thought this death hit very well. Then poor Aiko finds out that the artificial brain will be terminated if their mission succeeds because Shiriashi accidentally tells her. And then she goes to talk to Yuya, and he's like, yeah, of course. Who cares? It's an artificial brain. Guy's cold as ice because personality would be too much to handle.
Something happened in the transplant. That's the only possible conclusion.
He seemed like a nice guy. I mean, I'm guessing it's like there's some survivor's guilt and stuff going on there, but for storytelling, it was rough. They keep going. They get to the last gate. They are attacked by human forms again. This time, the other matter. This is where I probably should start calling it. So, AICO matter, A matter, fights back against what we now know as the Yuzuha matter, the Y matter, which is the human form. So A matter is now battling Y matter. This is the scene where they get thrown through the air and they grab onto each other, but the matter is like actually catching them and saving them now.
Now, hang on though, because we don't want to give the confusion that all of the matter that isn't the humans is AICO, like good matter that's controlled and used to fight, because there's a considerable portion of time where the human version of the matter actually has like this coding of AICO matter that is the burst, but not controlled by. So there's like this pink version of the matter that is actually controlled by the human brain in there. And the reddish colored matter is the stuff that is the actual artificial body, artificial organism, burst
evil
body. That's just, it's instinctual. Yeah, malignant. Yeah. Okay. So it's just so confusing in so many weird layers.
Yeah, I was about to say it's never super clearly defined what's super controlled by everyone else. And they do start color coding it more now that we're in these last episodes. But I don't know if they are just doing that for us or if that red matter we've been seeing the whole time is separate. But yeah, because there's pink for the A matter, there's green for the Y matter, green and white, and then later it'll become purple.
Yeah, for the human forms.
Yeah.
Well, purple is when it's someone else controlling it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So when they get past the last gate, which doesn't, it's only the electrocution, no blade. They reach primary point, and this is where Dr. Sazu calls over the intercom. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm the evil villain here. Just wanted to check in and let you know that the kid you're following, he's Dr. Yura. He's a son of a..." And he drops the big that I actually didn't see this coming, is that AICO is the artificial brain in the human body.
Yeah, I didn't see this coming either.
I didn't see it either.
And you like Jeremy pointed out, there was some inconsistencies with the story and the logic of how the bursting happened. That it actually makes more sense this way.
Yes,
but I had chalked it up to this anime it doesn't know what it's talking about. I did have to watch this scene 3 times though. Especially the scene where Kurosei is like showing a picture of the brains going, and he's pointing like, that's the one they're with. That's the one who's the burst.
Yeah, the one with all the bandages. I kept thinking, which one is she? And the one with all the bandages is the real human.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happened was when they put the human brain in the artificial body freaked out and burst, reaching for the artificial brain, which was now in the human body, and they ran away with that, and the matter's been chasing it ever since. Also now the real AICO is just ahead, and so now we have the character we've been calling AICO. I'm going to start calling Fako.
That's actually good. I like that. But I see why it doesn't work.
Yeah. Thank you. I was so proud of it too.
FICO.
So close.
Fako, I love the thing about the eyes though. Like, I have a serial number on my eye. They should have. Oh, we didn't tell you. Eyes are part of the brain. That's actually Goggle swaps with. So she runs away, and basically everyone kind of gets scattered to the winds here. Kaisuke, he's like, I love her. I'm gonna go get her. Yuya's like, I'm gonna go get her too, but because I need to get her killed. Sagami's like, I'm gonna go deeper into this facility and just start kicking some butt. And Coyote's like, well, I'm in love with him, so I'm gonna go with him. She ends up saving his life, and everyone else is just being smart and trying to stay alive. that cover everything.
I think so.
A.I.C.O gets captured by the matter, and when she's pulled into it, she meets the real A.I.C.O.
I don't think she's really captured. She's invited in.
It's weird because she didn't like step into it, but it like slowly, like she could easily like just take a step back and not go in, but it just kind of slowly envelops her and is like, hey, it's okay, got you.
Well, this is the pink matter. Yeah.
Also,
there was some imagery that was questionable.
Yes. I remember thinking the same thing.
Okay, I'm gonna keep us going. We're gonna go right past that.
Yep.
So yeah, she gets to meet the real A.I.C.O, and she's like, the real A.I.C.O is like, hey, I'm going to sacrifice myself to put a end to all this. Don't you worry about it. Thank you for sending me years of mental telepathy, dreams, and memories so that I could live, even though I'm just a head in a vat in a giant red mass down a river.
This was so crazy. I love that.
I think would have made this so much better is if, like, during their conversation, the real A.I.C.O was like, all right, well, now it's time for you to join me. And like from behind her, like came like this bladed thing and just like sliced the back of her head open.
Yes,
belongs in our episode.
If A.I.C.O had gone insane and like was a true monster and had been doing this all intentionally,
yes,
right?
That'd be cool.
That would have been great.
And then as soon as she gets the brain because he wasn't able to put the thing in, she like gets her new power and then she just starts rampaging through Tokyo.
Yeah,
season 2.
Yuya also gets captured by Yuzuha and gets pulled into her mind.
Through one of the human forms that looks like something out of... what's that one you really like, Jason?
Oh, Mushishi?
Yes, it looks like something out of Mushishi.
Yeah, it was really creepy.
Yeah.
The government's getting ready to attack. That character, Akiko, who's the head of the one organization, is trying to get them to stop. She's kind of now on the good guy's side. And she's also made aware that Dr. Sazu is not. That he's kind of, got his own agenda. Then A.I.C.O finds Mom and Bro, thanks to Gummy, and talks to them.
Stupid Gummy.
I really didn't like how they were talking without moving their mouths.
Oh, okay. You've sold me on the strange telepathy.
Yep.
Basically, this confirms A.I.C.O that she's like, oh, I want to do what's best for these people, even if I'm not the real one. So she tells Yuya, who shows up, let's swap brains. Let's fix this. And then Dr. Sazu sets up a machine where he uses his own daughter's connection to the matter to jack in.
Yeah, he hijacks it.
He takes control of the matter, and then he starts... he turns into the monster. He doesn't
even take control of the matter. He takes control of all the clone bodies that he made of his daughter.
That's later. At first, he has control of the human form matter.
You're right.
One of the Sazu was in control of, and he starts attacking them with that. And he's like, A.I.C.O, I'm not trying to hurt you. He even warned them like, hey, the government's going to attack. Go hide, because he wants to protect her to take her brain and figure out how it's working so he can save his daughter. And you admits like, oh yeah, I came up with a third type of the cell generation stuff, and I made a real brain by linking it to dreams.
Basically he linked it to her real brain and then had it basically use kind of like inverse kinematics of her brain to make a reflection of it.
When he told me this, I'm like, wait, why do you think this is a robot? You clearly just downloaded a human brain into a new brain,
right?
And you created two human brains.
Yes, yeah, that's it. It's so bad. Like,
oh yeah, this is like a Soma situation here.
Yeah, but Yuya's whole arc is like, oh, the artificial brain isn't real, and it was fine because he was talking about the one they're trying to get to. But then you realize he's been meaning her the whole time, the girl he's been talking to. And
I did like that Isazu calls it out, and he's like, "Playing God, you're playing God."
Yeah. And Kurose's friend, like, your friend's a bit of a mad scientist, you know that?
Yep.
Kazuke shows up to save them. They're able to get away. They get to the surgery center, right? After some help. There's a whole thing about the flashing lights. Kurosei is able to communicate to Yuya, hey, here's what's going on our side. He's like, he communicates.
Yeah, because they don't want to say it because Zazu will hear it.
He can hear it. So they say back like, hey, you need to disconnect his daughter. That's the connection point. Please go unplug her brain. She'll wake up, which is really silly. Like, oh, man, if only I wasn't trying to cure her of her coma, she would have not been in a coma.
That's exactly what I meant by slap in the face. Like,
yeah, so they get to officially primary point, the surgical site. They find Aiko's head. That's floating there.
This is one of those scenes.
The eye
again,
matter,
questionable imagery.
Yep.
The Isazu. I didn't like that. There's like this almost human-shaped body over it.
Oh yeah, it's very human. And if you look, like the assembly machine, the big orb,
the stomach,
the belly, yeah, like a womb.
So while Isazu's matter is attacking, the divers all show up and they start defending. They go to do the surgery. There's this whole thing about Yu's like, wait, I'm not actually going to kill you. I believe you're a human now. That doesn't matter because he never does anything about it anyway. He's like, I'll find a way to restore you, but he doesn't. So why bother with the epiphany?
Like, even at the end of the episode, he's like, we're going to make a world that you can live. It's like, okay, you didn't resolve anything. You're talking about
as evil as you started, sir.
Yes.
But they do the surgery. The one thing that really makes it tough, though, is Sazu does wake up his daughter's clones and turns them into matter on purpose, and then they dive inside the other matter and take control of it. So that thing with the thing in its belly, he gets control of it. He's like, oh my god, humans suck. I'm so powerful right now. Yes. We go straight, like, this was a Final Fantasy villain if I've ever seen one.
This reminded me of Princess Mononoke, like crazy.
He did look like that, yeah. Kaisuke and Kaede save the day. They had this poison to kill the matter the whole time, and he holds it in his hand and plunges it in. She shoots his fake arm, because why would they have to sacrifice anything real?
Which they had to make sure that they've been calling out the fake arm all this time for this moment.
Which it would have been great if he had lost his real arm. It was like, oh, it served a purpose. Anyway.
Yep.
Or he lost it. They didn't recreate it, and then he had to stick his real hand in there.
That would have been good too.
I actually like that he called out every step of the surgery: shaving the hair, softening the skull, opening the.
Cool.
I actually was into that because I was like, it's weird that the brains just float out and then swap, but he was explaining the process, and there seemed to be like matter in there manipulating and moving stuff for him. So they swap. They defeat Isazu, who goes into like a coma.
So
irony. But his daughter wakes up.
Yep.
Hi, Dad.
The real A.I.C.O comes out. She's back in her human body. She's fine. And then Fako comes down on a stalk.
Well, as the matter around it is dying.
Right. And she's like, hey, did it work? Are everyone okay? I'm glad. And she like retreats back into it, and then it all crystallizes and she dies. And then this weird creature emerges.
It's like a weird lizard baby thing.
It's like a lizard fetus thing.
Oh. And then it splits open and Fako comes out. And then they're like, how'd that happen? And then Gummy's like, it was me, Gummy, the whole time. The thing is that apparently Gummy had saved her at one point and downloaded her body data. And then she was able to use the matter and that data to rebuild a body out of the last of the matter. And then created it doesn't make any sense. It's so stupid.
Actually, it doesn't matter.
I want to know your guys' thoughts when this scene happened, though. Fast as we're going, this was a big thing.
I hated it. I really liked the conclusion of her character, and she should have just died.
It felt like there was no, like the stakes didn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Also, there was no, hey, this is something that's possible. Like they never set this up at
Yeah.
any point in the anime to say, "Oh, and sometimes you can create little pod babies, and then humans can birth from it."
No, the big issue is like you've and this arc works so well. That's why so many movies use it. Humanity creates this amazing thing that goes awry, and it starts destroying everything. They are able to go back to its source. Now they have to lose this amazing technology in order to stop the thing, and they lose it all. But humanity lives another day. That storyline is so compelling, it's used in movie after movie after movie. Sure, it's overused, but it works. This doesn't, because now you've got this amazing thing that you've created still in the world. Now what?
Well, I mean, Yuya was still there.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So then we're giving everyone's epilogue. Everyone lived happily ever after.
Basically.
Yeah.
So
I didn't see anything that was shocking or surprising.
I was so pissed.
And Faco, she gets a scene with the mother and the brother where she gets to basically say her goodbyes. They don't know that because she's like, "I'm gonna go change," and then she just switches spots. But then she goes off with Yuya, and then enrolls in high school again. Right?
Yeah.
How this ended.
So
And
Robot
then-
Girl gets to go have a normal life.
Okay, we need to go to final review. Before I want to bring this up real quick.
Uh-oh.
I want you guys to say your theories on why they had to swap the brains of a human body that they were fully capable of healing and a robot body.
The only biggest reason, in my opinion, but so that there's one possibility, but one thing that I can kind of support with evidence. The thing that we can't support with evidence is the idea that he didn't want his daughter to have to. Well, I guess Dad's dead at this point, so I think they didn't want her to suffer. I guess you're not suffering in coma, but they didn't want her to be in coma the entire time. And the part that I think that can't be supported is the body would have died with a normal brain, so they had to replace it with the artificial brain so they could put the nanostructures in. But I think the biggest reason was they didn't want her to have to be in a coma during the healing process.
But would that affect your brain? Isn't your brain what's in the coma and not your body?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the brain.
So if you swap the coma brain into a body, wouldn't that body then enter a coma? And
Should. It should.
all right, Jason, your theories.
Yeah. It's weird. I actually agree with Jason on the idea that I don't think that the body could be healed. Like they couldn't insert those artificial structures without an artificial brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the reason, but it sounds like from what they were saying, you kind of had to, like, why is it the brain? Why couldn't they just introduce some other part of, like, to make a hybrid that would be able to allow the body to sustain these? If it's the autonomic portions of the brain, then do they have to include a personality, or can they simply take like the lizard brain aspects, the limbic parts? What is it that's necessary? And that's where I think Yuya not Yuya at that time, it was Yura, took advantage of an opportunity. And I think that there was no reason to necessarily copy her brain, just put in a placeholder brain and let her coma brain, kind of be set on a seat waiting to come back to the body while it was being healed so that she could have something to come back to. But yeah, I think Yura is a bad guy. I think he's a mad scientist.
So they don't directly say the real body needs a fake brain in order to put in these carbon nanostructures. They didn't say that directly. I feel they implied it, but I don't have any proof for that. But if it's directly the cell assembler that allows the human body to take the artificial anything, then the second body was just not even needed. They could have just put her in the cell assembler and put in the carbon nanostructures.
To be honest, I do think you're right. I do think you're actually hitting on, because this whole anime, the whole time I'm like, I get why injured body, it's okay. Maybe a robot body, we'll put the brain in there. That's super anime. That's super well established. And they're like, but don't worry, we're also going to keep the human body alive and put a fake brain in. I'm like, isn't that broken? We can just throw that away, right? We don't. Why are we doing this?
We gave her a better fake body, right? Yeah. Bionic girl.
Okay. So they had to have insisted on putting her back in her human body at some point. That had to always be the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming.
Well, and the thing is too, like, why would, like, let's say she could be in this artificial body, right? Is there some reason why her human body would be better beyond just the purism? I mean, we're dealing with a fictional universe. We don't have to deal with purist ideas of like, oh, it's the human body. You need to be in the human body. It's like Ghost in the Shell at this point.
It depends on the limitations. Like,
that's what I mean. Does that body have limitations that this character has expressed, that A.I.C.O has shown? I haven't seen any.
Because if fake artificial body can't, say, for instance, bear children, I could see her wanting to go back to her original body after original body was healed, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
One other thing we should mention, Yuya was going to commit suicide at the end of this. He's stuck in a fake body. So maybe it does suck. Like, maybe it's the worst.
Well, I thought that was just survivor's guilt.
Yeah, I think so.
I assume that was just...
But it is an interesting
I would like to call out one more thing before last reviews. Real A.I.C.O cuts her finger while doing some cooking, and it upset me in the worst way.
Because all of a sudden the carbon structures are gone.
Where'd they go?
Her body is supposed to be...
Well, that's where I think that they were basically set to a timer. Like, once they completed their job of restructuring her body, they just dissolved. Like nanobots, right?
Or the doctors just removed them.
Yeah. With Cell Assembler 27.
Dr. Yura's there. I mean, he could do it. Dr. Kurase is capable.
All right, let's go to final
review. I'm just saying it's possible, but I actually agree. It didn't strike me when I first saw it. It was like an hour later. I was like, wait a dang minute.
Yes. I have one thing to call out, too, and that is, what do you think was the liquid inside of the cocoon that the mother and the brother were in?
Embiotic fluid.
How did this malignant goop make that? I saw it as basically like malignant pus.
That malignant goop made an entire body. I don't think there's a body fluid it can produce.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, just the idea that they kept calling the burst malignant, and the burst made the cocoon, and the burst filled the liquid. I was like, that's so gross.
Also,
well, I mean,
freezing.
Mom and brother had to be fed some way, right?
Right, and their defecation had to be taken care of and rerouted.
Okay, let's go to final reviews. Thanks for that final point. Jason, you picked it. What is your review?
I'm going to give it a low 3, but I need to give it a 3 because it did quite a few things right, but it did a lot wrong. Definitely tripped over itself at the end, but I think it held my attention enough. I'm going to give the dub a pass, even though the voice acting was awful.
Okay, thank you. Jeremy, how about you?
I'm also giving it a 3, also low. It was so freaking entertaining with the idea and the concept that even though the execution was bad, I was still interested. Still want to see what they were going to do.
I'm giving it a 2. While I love the diver characters and I love all of the action scenes, the first couple episodes were so rough, even without the English dub, which was itself so rough. And other than the concept and what I've already mentioned, it just didn't have anything for me. So 2 for me. Let's talk about our next anime. It is called Dragon Pilot, Hisone and Masotan. Also known as Hisone to Masotan. This is by Bone Studio. It's a 12-episode anime about a girl piloting a mecha dragon. I can't
what could go wrong.
This is Jeremy's pick. He saw a picture of cute girls driving robot dragons, and I can't blame him. That's
what's not to love.
How do you not stop on that? So that will be our next anime. We'll be watching those 12 episodes. If you have any thoughts on AICO Incarnation or Dragon Robots, you can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast. You can send us an email, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com. You can leave us a comment wherever you found this podcast, and it'll get back to us. We would love to hear from you. I think that wraps this up. I've seen enough gooey flesh to last a lifetime. You guys ready to say goodbye?
Thanks for listening.
Wilco.
Sayonara. Do you like paper airplanes?